All right. So obviously, we're going to start off. This is going to be a somewhat Gaza heavy day today because it's a major news story. Not that I feel like Americans have moved on from it to a certain degree where, half the people are just like, okay, ceasefire is here. Good. This is what we wanted. It's over, right? Like now we don't have to think about Palestine ever again. And then there's the other people who are like, it's not enough. We should have killed more Palestinians. And they can't openly say it like that. So they just go, why are the ceasefire now people so quiet? Why are the ceasefire now people so quiet? Meanwhile, the fire hasn't ceased. Okay. Yeah. RIP to Saleh. Like there's a very famous Palestinian journalist. There's a very famous Palestinian journalist who was shot and killed in the additional Israel-backed gangs, Israel armed gangs that immediately tried to take advantage of like the power vacuum that existed for like a brief moment. And Israel, instead of directly engaging the Palestinians, has basically let these like gangs roam around, and they come in from like Israel protected areas. They go into areas where like Hamas is reasserting control and the Palestinians are reasserting control, and basically they engage in these like gun battles, and a lot of people are covering it. They're not fully understanding exactly what's going on, but unfortunately in that process, are they like settlers? No, they're collaborators. So there are, for those of you that don't know, I mean, I'll get into it a little bit later because we're currently just talking about my GOAT, peaceful president, Mr. Peace. I like to call him President P, short for President Peace. Okay. Because he is my GOAT. He is the peace president. He's the peacetime president. He did it. He did the damn thing. Okay. President PP. Yeah. PP for short. President Peace. Anyway, because I know there will be some fucking hogs in here that are like, oh, why don't you give him credit? It's like, yeah, in comparison to Brandon, he actually did enforce the power that he had over Israel. I mean, he could have done this in fucking January, which would have, I think, in my opinion, if he had done this in January, he would have received a Nobel Peace Prize, and he would have deserved a Nobel Peace Prize. The fact that he actually waited for like another 9 months so that Israel could get, kill a bunch of more Palestinians in the Strip is gross and disgusting. At the end of the day, if we're going to measure him off of what Brandon did and what Brandon could have done and refused to do versus what he did, he did actually eventually fucking say to Israel, it's over, it's done. As far as we know, because right now, once again, just like I said with the last ceasefire, if this is long lasting and this actually starts up the process of recovery, relief, and also recognition of a statehood, a recognition of sovereignty, true emancipation for the Palestinians, then I'm on board. That's great. Okay. I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think that that is going to happen. And I don't even think that the ceasefire is a legitimate one. I think Israel is going to find ways to violate it. If you recall, for the last couple of days, I've mentioned two things that Israel could potentially use to make it seem as though they don't want to abide by a ceasefire, to claim that it's actually the Palestinians that are not abiding by a ceasefire. And they have literally started using those two things. If you've been in here for the past week or so, when I was covering this stuff, you already probably heard that. Number one, they can't find all of the dead hostages. They're gonna use that as an opportunity to say, the Palestinians are spoiling this ceasefire negotiation. They're not abiding by it. And they've already started saying that. And number two, they'll claim, well, these guys are not actually fully disarming. So we have no other choice but to go in and continue our genocide. Both of those things are like being entertained right now in Israeli news. But overall, this is where we're at. We're taking it one day at a fucking time. So let's take a look. Breaking news. Donald Trump signs historic Gaza peace plan.
Well, thank you very much.
Why do you think Israel's willing to do a ceasefire after 2 years? There is no Israel's willing to do anything. There could be two reasons. If the ceasefire is fake and they're just simply biding their time, they're just going to go back to business as usual. But it seems like this will hold. And the reason why it will seemingly hold is because America has finally told Israel it's done. Okay? That's it.
It's a great honor. I appreciate it very much, Mr. President. Mr. General, Mr. President, great General, great President, thank you very much. This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working.
What the fuck? Why did it cut?
Have been returned. Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. There's few rows and standing behind me. I don't know why they chose to stand, but I promise I'll make it short, okay?
Anyway, here, this is Barack Ravid, but Barack Ravid with the scoops once again. IDF's very own Barack Ravid. Direct meeting between Trump envoys and Hamas leaders sealed the Gaza deal. An unusual and dramatic meeting last night between President Trump's envoys and Hamas leaders helped get the Gaza peace deal across the line. 3 sources with direct knowledge tell Axios why it matters. One barrier to a deal was that Hamas leaders feared Israel would resume the war once its hostages were freed. In order to deliver a deal, one of the sources contended, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had to meet the Hamas leaders in person and directly assure them that Trump won't let that happen as long as the group held up its side of the deal. A day earlier, Trump had privately granted permission for Witkoff and Kushner to meet Hamas leaders if necessary to seal a deal when they met in the Oval Office before the pair departed for Egypt. After arriving in Sharm el-Sheikh, Witkoff informed the Qatari and Egyptian and Turkish mediators about Trump's green light. On Wednesday night around 11 p.m. local time, the Qatari mediators came to Witkoff's villa at the Four Seasons, said there was a stalemate in the talks, and asked if the U.S. envoys were ready to meet Hamas, according to one of the sources. We think that if you meet them and shake their hand, there will be a deal, a senior Qatari official told Witkoff. Behind the scenes, several minutes later, Witkoff and Kushner walked into another villa at the Red Sea Resort. Arrayed inside were the Egyptian and Turkish intelligence chiefs, senior Qatari officials, and 4 most senior Hamas leaders involved in the negotiations. The Hamas team was led by Khalil al-Hayya, who had survived an Israeli assassination attempt in Doha 3 weeks earlier. In a meeting lasting around 45 minutes, Witkoff told the Hamas officials the hostages were now more of a liability than an asset for you. It was time to move on with the first phase of the deal and bring people home on both sides of the border, he said, according to one of the sources. Al-Hayya asked if Witkoff and Kushner had a message from Trump. President Trump's message is that you will be treated fairly and that he stands behind all 20 points of his peace plan and will make sure that they're all implemented, Witkoff said, according to the source. When the meeting ended, the Hamas leaders went to a separate room with the Egyptian, Qatari, and Turkish mediators. Several minutes later, Egyptian spy chief Hassan Rashad returned with his Turkish and Qatari counterparts. Based on the meeting we have a deal, he told Witkoff and Kushner. Flashback, the meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh was the second significant direct engagement between the Trump admin and Hamas. In March, U.S. hostage envoy Adam Baylor held an unprecedented meeting with Hamas leaders in Doha in an effort to free American hostage Idan Alexander and retrieve the bodies of 4 other Americans kidnapped by the group. The deal faltered in part due to strong opposition from the Israeli government, which was initially in the dark about the direct negotiations. The bottom line, the willingness of Witkoff and Kushner to meet Hamas leaders despite the political risks involved demonstrated to the group that the U.S. was serious about getting and enforcing a deal, one of the sources contended. This is why when President Trump's envoys gave their word that this deal will be fully enforced, they believe it. It seems to me like the barbaric monsters in the way that they were presented were seen as much more reasonable than the way that they're presented in the media, right? I wonder why. The U.S. negotiated directly with Hamas to get this deal. Just more proof of how stupid it is to avoid direct negotiations with the Palestinians is the only way to get things done. Of course. MIT MIT seems to be directly pretty involved in this, as Jeremy Scahill alluded to the interview. Yes. Because Milli İstihbarat Teşkilatı, which is the CIA of Turkey, that's what this chatter is talking about, is directly involved in the talks because they're one of the forces in the region that the Hamas and all of the Palestinian resistance forces actually have to trust more than like the Saudis. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the Gulf leadership, I would say out of all the Gulf states. Qatar is the only one that has like some kind of legitimacy in the eyes of the Palestinian resistance groups. And then out of all the other regional actors, the one that they definitely abide by or definitely think would give them a fair shake, whether it's correct or not, this is just their assessment, is I would say the Turkish intelligence. Trump, I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple of people I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who.
Sprint to this deal began less than 3 weeks ago on the sidelines of the United Nations in New York. I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together. I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who. I have actually a few of them I don't like at all, but you'll never find out who they are. Well, maybe you will, come to think of it. The final...
I honestly feel like Trump only wanted this deal for Nobel and now seems not to really care to be there. No, I don't think it's just that. I think the other reason is because, look, it's impossible to fully understand why Trump is doing this, okay? But you have to start with his motivations. Donald Trump's primary motivation always is getting his money up and not his funny up, okay? He doesn't care about anything other than himself. That much is obviously clear. He certainly doesn't care about, like, peace for the sake of sparing lives that could have been continued to be dominated by Israeli incursion and the Israeli genocide against the Palestinians. He obviously just cares about deals. He cares about deal making. He cares about being seen as a deal maker. He cares about being seen as a powerful figure. And I think ultimately he cares about making money, not just for himself, but also for his EU is greater than you. You are just a cringe communist. Oh, EU is greater than NA. I think in some ways, Europe, and with its history and with its political movements, is better than the United States of America. But unfortunately, the European Union and the European countries are basically servile, like a dog, to our disgusting, monstrous piece of shit government. There have been great movements that come out of Europe. Like, you see what people are doing in Spain, you see what people are doing in Italy, and you see the protests everywhere, and it inspires confidence. But, just not great. Anyway, look. Let's keep going. What I was going to talk about is, like, if you're thinking about Trump's main motivations here, I think it's fucking deal making. Okay? I think it's ultimately deal making. He wants to make deals and he wants to build shit. Okay? He wants to build shit in the region. He wants to build shit in Gaza potentially. Like, that's what he wants to do. He wants to make money. And it's wild because, like, I guess that has led to, at least in the interim, a more peaceful outcome for the Palestinians, a moment of respite for the Palestinians, than the other side of the equation, which is like unrestrained, ultra-Zionist social conditioning and firm commitment to Israel. Trump recognized that Israel's popularity was waning, even in his own base. He recognized that Israel's popularity was waning all around the world. And he openly stated it. He said, we're going to make Israel popular again. Israel's lost a lot of support around the world. He said that. He said that. Straight up. So look no further than that if you want to understand where he's coming from. Oh, this moment, which is crazy. This is from Eli Clifton, senior advisor at Quincy Institute, referring to what Trump said here, which once again, openly saying the fucking quiet part out loud. I actually asked Miriam Adelson, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once. I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That means it might mean Israel.
Broken promises from many other American presidents, you know that. They kept promising. I never understood it until I got there. There was a lot of pressure put on these presidents. It was put on me too, but I didn't yield to the pressure. But every president for decades said, we're going to do it. The difference is I kept my promise and officially recognized the capital of Israel and moved the American embassy to Jerusalem. Isn't that right, Miriam? Look at Miriam. She's back there. Stand up, Miriam. Stand up. Miriam and Sheldon would come into the office. They'd call me. He'd call me. I think they had more trips to the White House than anybody else I could think of. Look at her sitting there so innocently. She's got 60 billion in the bank, 60 billion. And I think she's saying no more. And she loves Israel, but she loves it, and they would come in, and her husband was a very aggressive man, but I loved him. He was a very aggressive, very supportive of me. And he'd call up, can I come over and see you? I say, Sheldon, I'm the president of the United States. It doesn't work that way. He'd come in and we would do.
Bro, literally, this is like, listen. Think about what he is doing to all of those other world leaders. Now think about who he actually behaves servile to. This is literally like, how do I sit around and act as though this is not like, how do I sit around and act as though this is normal in any way, shape, or form? This is the guy that all the Groypers loved, by the way. This is the guy that all the fucking, anti-Semitic Groypers who were like, yeah, that's my bold, brave president. He's over here in Israel being like, I love Miriam Adelson. She gave me so much money. She loves Israel more than she loves America, but that's fine by me because I also love money. I love money. I talk to them every day. I used to talk to Sheldon, and Sheldon would dog walk me. He would make me bark like a dog, a little dog. I'd go, ip, ip, ip, ip, ip, like a dog.
But they were very responsible for so much, including getting me thinking about Golan Heights, which is probably one of the greatest things to ever happen to Israel.
The saddest thing is you all still voted for him. First of all, what do you mean you all? You're in a community where virtually no one, I assume, unless they're fucking haters that are simply hate watching currently, voted for Donald Trump, okay?
Miriam, no. Stand up, please. She really is. I mean, she loves this country. She loves this country. Her and her husband are so incredible. We miss him so dearly. But I actually asked her, I'm going to get her in trouble with this, but I actually asked her once, I said, so Miriam, I know you love Israel. What do you love more, the United States or Israel? She refused to answer. That might mean Israel, I must say. We love.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, she loves Israel more than the United States of America. That's right. I'm going to get her in trouble. If you said this, you would get banned. Yeah. It's not. Trump has advanced the cause. He's no longer saying dual loyalty. He's saying single loyalty.
We're joined now by
Okay, this was actually some pretty solid back and forth here with George Stephanopoulos. Normally I'd say George Slopadopoulos, but he actually didn't deliver slop today.
Vice President J.D. Vance. Mr. Vice President, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's start with the Middle East. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Hamas has confirmed they are holding 20 living hostages and that those hostages are going to be released in the next 24 hours, early as today perhaps. Have 20 living hostages been confirmed? When do you expect to see them?
Well, they've been confirmed, George. Of course, you don't know until you see these people alive, but thank God we expect to see them alive here in the next 24 hours, probably early tomorrow morning, U.S. time, which will be later in the day, of course, in Israel. But look, George, we have to remember this is a remarkable achievement from an administration that really chose a non-conventional path to diplomacy. And I think that's the major takeaway. The President of the United States instructed Marco Rubio, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff. He said, get a deal done. Talk to the Gulf Arab states. Talk to Israel, find where there's common ground here, and actually let's go and find a way to get it done. And because of that, we are on the cusp of true peace in the Middle East, really for the first time in my lifetime. Certainly, these 20 hostages are going to come home to their families, George. I think this is a great moment for our country. Our country should be proud of our diplomats who made this happen. It's really a great moment for the world, too, which is why the president's going to go over there and celebrate with these.
I mean, come on. He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful and so glorious. Look at him.
Hostages. But it's a great thing, and I'm very excited about it.
200 U.S. troops are being sent to Israel to monitor the agreement. What exactly will they be doing? Will they actually go into Gaza? And are you concerned they could get caught in some crossfire?
George, so that story is actually misreported. We already have troops at Central Command. We've had them for decades in this country. They are going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire.
Yeah, the American troops that they have in Central Command could get caught in the crossfire by Israel, okay? Because the Central Command that is in Qatar has been bombed by Israel. So if there's any crossfire fears that they might have, it's probably going to come from Israel. Obviously, I'm joking. He's talking about 200 troops deployed to Israel specifically. They're going to be handling the logistics and all this stuff. They're not going to have an active combat role, is what they said.
And that's everything from ensuring that the Israeli troops are at the agreed upon line, ensuring that Hamas is not attacking innocent Israelis, doing everything that they can to ensure the peace that we've created actually sustains and endures. But the idea that we're going to have troops on the ground in Gaza, in Israel, that is not our intention. That is not our plan. There was a bit of a misreporting there, but we are going to monitor this peace to ensure that it endures. The other piece of good news that's been underreported, I think, George, is that Indonesia and a number of other majority Muslim states, they've actually offered to send ground troops to Gaza to ensure the necessary peacekeeping takes place. That's not something the United States is going to be expected to do. That's something the Muslim world is going to step up and do. And that, again, is because of the Trump administration's diplomacy.
The president has also pushed for National Guard deployments in several American cities. As you know, that's been questioned by several federal judges, including Trump appointees, also the Republican governor of Oklahoma and chairman of the National Governors Association, Kevin Stitt. Here's what Governor Stitt said. We believe in the federalist system that states' rights. Oklahomans would lose their mind if Pritzker and Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration. How do you respond to Governor Stitt?
Well, I'd say to Governor Stitt, you have to look at what's happening on the ground in Chicago. And the reason why Illinois is a different case from Chicago is because Chicago has been given over to lawlessness and gangs for too long, George. If you look at the murder rates in Chicago, the violent crime rates, you have women who have young families. They're terrified their kids are going to get killed in a drive-by shooting. We have accepted this for far too long in the United States of America and some of our biggest cities. And Chicago, unfortunately, is the worst. It's a beautiful city. It's got great people. We know the gross majority of the violent crime in that city is committed by a very tiny fraction of the population. Why shouldn't federal troops empower the people in Chicago to live safe lives when the governor and the local mayor just simply refuse to do their job?
But as you know, a federal judge, a U.S. district judge, has blocked the effort to deploy troops in Chicago. And it was Judge Perry, and she actually said that a lot of these claims that were made, especially in the court filings, lack credibility.
Well, George, we're obviously going to litigate this as much as we can. We think that we have the authority to provide proper safety to our citizens all over the United States, but particularly in Chicago. But I think for any federal judge or anybody else to look.
They're in Rogers Park. They're in Kenilworth. They're in the whitest, most affluent suburbs. It was never about crime. I mean, none of it is about crime. Even the fucking deportation of undocumented people is not about like limiting crime. They're not going after criminals. As a matter of fact, they're doing the opposite of going after criminals. They're letting criminals go free because all of the other federal law enforcement apparatus forces that would otherwise be tasked with investigating like drug trafficking, for example, have now had to engage in interior removals. Okay? They have literally taken people off the drug teams. They've taken people off of the sex trafficking teams and specifically made them go after interior removal and to defend the fucking ICE mass apprehension initiative. It is fucking crazy. It's the exact opposite of tackling crime. It's the last, most redeeming quality of federal policing that they are taking away. They did this last time as well, never to this degree. Okay? It is crazy. It's so fucking crazy. Like, I am not a person that believes that there is no role that law enforcement has in modern society. Okay? I believe that as it stands currently, they do not abide by the principles of protecting and serving the population. They protect and serve capital. Having said that, in a perfect world, there still needs to be a mechanism of law enforcement. Okay? What that law enforcement does obviously needs to be heavily regulated and significantly limited, significantly scaled back in the way that it works. Having said that, this is the one aspect of law enforcement that you're supposed to fucking do, which is, I don't know, investigate actual crime. And these guys have completely dropped the ball on that. They do not care. Like, either engage in, community advocacy, community safety, or actually investigate real crimes that are taking place. And it's crazy because this is your most liberal take? No, I'm not an anarchist if that's what you think. And even anarchists themselves also fucking believe that there needs to be some kind of like community policing. So there is no ideology out there. Okay? There is no ideology. Even anarchists who are abolitionists still understand that something needs to exist as a formation that resembles what you would, under normal circumstances, consider to be a policing unit. Okay? Whether it is democratically organized or not doesn't matter. I can't believe we're having this fucking insane conversation every single time I talk about police. Okay? There has always been police in every single society. Okay? There has been something that you could point to as policing. The USSR had cops as well. Okay? Cuba has cops. China has cops. Everybody has cops. Something that it plays that role of by their existence, something that plays the role of law and order. The presence that is supposed to, their presence is supposed to invoke that there is like some kind of peacekeeping taking place here. The problem in America is that that's not what cops do. That's never what cops have done historically. And it's certainly not what they're doing right now. Okay? They are moving federal law enforcement away from like tackling drug trafficking or tackling sex crimes and shit like that, specifically to interior removals. So they're moving people away from, serious crimes that they're supposed to be tasked with investigating and apprehending people on, to directly fucking deporting random people that work as barbacks, that work in the fucking local eatery, that work in the factories, that work in the goddamn fields. Jesus Christ. Most crimes are born out of people's material conditions. I understand that. And if you want to solve crime broadly to the best of your ability, you have to solve that problem. Okay? Having said that, there will be still crimes as it stands currently, given that we have a limitation in the field of medicine. There will still be crimes that are born out of like socially maladaptive behavior, crimes born out of antisocial personality disorders, things like that. And as long as we can't fucking rehabilitate, or as long as we currently can't actually move to use therapy to eradicate that kind of crime, there is always going to be a necessity for some kind of apprehension, okay? It's going to happen. Also, on top of that, there are very powerful people who are engaging in these sorts of crimes. I would like to also enforce some kind of justice upon those people as well. Please stop. Anyway, there will always be a need for a presence of community-backed unit of people that invoke the presence of law and order. The problem in America is that cops do not actually create law and order. They create lawlessness, panic, and disorder. Okay? That's it.
Look at the situation and say, is it tolerable? And I think the obvious answer, George, is no. The president looks at this situation. He sees the fact that you have multiple people dying of murders every weekend in the city of Chicago, and he says, this is intolerable.
I'm sorry, but I have to disagree on this. How this Trump's material conditions explain the crimes he's committed. Did you not hear what I just said? I said most crimes, like petty theft or even like aggravated assault and whatnot, are a direct byproduct of people's material conditions because they've just been left behind, okay? That's why I said most. What is going on? I feel like I have an entire community of professional misunderstanders. Hasan gets mad for a living? I mean, I kind of do. You're not wrong. You actually are not wrong. I do get mad for a living, it seems, sometimes because there are then crimes that we consider to be crimes, but are actually totally considered legal by the current system that we exist under. Okay? If you steal from the rich, that's a crime. If you steal from the poor, you will become rich.
It's not just the people who live in Chicago, it's the law enforcement in Chicago, federal, state, and local, who are trying to keep us safe, George. You've seen ICE agents being teed off on in suburban Chicago, in places all over the state of Illinois, and other places too. You see a 1,000% increase in violence against our ICE agents. They're being assaulted, beaten, they're being shot at. I think all Americans, Democrat or Republican, we look at this scenario, we say, this is not acceptable. We want people to be safe. We want our law enforcement officials to be empowered to keep us safe. We can do this, and that's exactly what the Trump administration has committed to doing.
Governor Pritzker is our next guest. President Trump has said that he should be in jail. Do you think Governor Pritzker has committed a crime?
Well, I think Governor Pritzker has certainly failed to keep the people of Illinois safe. And it's interesting to me, you know, Governor Pritzker will talk a lot, I'm sure, about how bad Donald Trump is, about how bad I am, and about how bad the administration is. He is the governor of a state that where its biggest city has murder rates that rival the most violent places in the third world, George. Why is he so mad at Donald Trump for trying to keep Chicagoans safe? He should be mad at the criminals that he has failed to keep at bay. We're trying to help him, and we're trying to help the residents of his biggest city. I wish that he would let us, because he certainly isn't doing the job himself.
I asked if you agree with President Trump that Governor Pritzker has committed a crime.
Well, I think that Governor Pritzker has allowed a lot of people to be killed in the city of Chicago and elsewhere, George. I think that it's disgraceful, and I think that he absolutely should suffer some consequences for the fact that there are thousands of innocent Chicagoans who are dead because he failed to do his job.
Please shock your dog.
It's really a yes or no question. Do you believe he's committed a crime?
George, you're going to keep on asking this question. I'm going to keep on telling you that Governor Pritzker has failed to do his job. He should
answer the question, JD. I mean, this is, by the way, this is like the most basic thing that you can do as a journalist, for the record, or as a commentator in general.
Committed a crime.
Well, I think that Governor Pritzker has allowed a lot of people to be killed in the city of Chicago and elsewhere, George. I think that it's disgraceful, and I think that he absolutely should suffer some consequences for the fact that there are thousands of innocent Chicagoans who are dead because he failed to do his job.
It's really a yes or no question. Do you believe he's committed a crime?
George, you're going to keep on asking this question. I'm going to keep on telling you that Governor Pritzker has failed to do his job. He should suffer some consequences. Whether he's violated a crime, ultimately, I would leave to the courts. But I certainly think that he has violated his fundamental oath of office. That seems pretty criminal to me. I'd leave it to a judge and jury to decide.
I love that. It's just like, hey, Governor Pritzker doesn't like me, and I think it should be illegal. Governor Pritzker doesn't like the current administration and is totally operating within the confines of the pre-existing law. And I don't like that, so it should be illegal and we should punish him, is basically what he is saying here. But I will not get myself to say he has actually violated the law, because he hasn't.
Decide whether he's actually violated the crime.
Let me also ask you, as we saw the indictment this week of Letitia James on questions of mortgage fraud. Also, Lisa Cook has been accused by the Trump administration of committing mortgage fraud as well. The journalism outlet ProPublica has actually published a story, and I want to show it up on the screen right now, that says that several members of the Trump administration have faced similar questions. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer entered into 2 primary residence mortgages in quick succession. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has primary residence mortgages in New Jersey and Washington, D.C. Lee Zeldin, the Environmental Protection Agency administrator, has 1 primary residence mortgage in Long Island and another in Washington, D.C. How do you respond to critics who say that the Trump administration is engaging in a double standard here?
Well, I'd say 2 things, George. First of all, ProPublica is basically a left-wing blog. I'm not shocked that you found a left-wing blog that can attack members of the Trump administration. But second...
Okay, but like, he's not even tackling the veracity of the reporting. Just, it's left-wing blog. First of all, they shit on the Democrats too. They're just one of the only decent resources for journalism that remains. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I hate when these motherfuckers never actually respond to the reporting, the veracity of the reporting, where they're just like, oh, well, this is left-wing blog.
And this is the most important, is what does the law say? Letitia James was indicted in a left-leaning part of our country, a part that voted very heavily against Donald J. Trump, for the crime of mortgage fraud. When I read the indictment, when I read the facts in the case, I see a person who committed mortgage fraud. Now, of course, the jury is going to decide whether she ultimately committed a crime. We don't try her. The administration doesn't try her. A judge tries the case, and a jury decides whether she's ultimately guilty. That is what is going to determine whether she goes to prison. I think we let the facts drive this. And, George, that's what we've tried to do in the administration's Department of Justice. We've asked ourselves, has a person violated the law? And if that person has violated the law, then we decide to prosecute him. That's what the Department of Justice should do.
Chatters who are saying, when will we watch the Zoran rally? There's so much more going on right now, so I can't watch the Zoran rally right now, but I will get to it.
It didn't do that under Joe Biden's administration. It does under Donald Trump's.
On the facts, do you dispute the facts that ProPublica reported?
Do I dispute a far-left blog that I haven't read that you brought up in this interview? I have no idea, George. I have no idea what they actually said. But I certainly question the source. I question their credibility. And most importantly, I'm not worried about what they said about members of our administration. I ask the question, what does the law say? And if the law says that you engage in mortgage fraud, and a local prosecutor, a local grand jury, and finally...
It's awesome that they're like straight up... Donald Trump has straight up been like, you have to prosecute my political enemies. You have to do that. I am saying that publicly to you, even though technically I should be saying it privately to you. But oops, I'm saying it publicly. So we might as well say it publicly as well, because nothing matters anymore. And JD Vance is like, well, this is the most honest. This is the most honest act of justice that has ever taken place. Okay. Yes, the previous prosecutor, the previous attorney general said that there wasn't indictable evidence here. There wasn't enough evidence to indict this person. And they looked really long and looked really hard. But guess what? That person is fired. Okay. And the new person has very clearly found enough evidence, in air quotes, in a matter of days. Okay. In a matter of days. Crazy. I know. But it is totally above board. Okay. Totally legal. We crossed our T's and dotted our I's. It's all good, baby. Come on now.
Finally, a jury convicts you of that crime, then that is how the justice system is meant to work in the United States of America.
The White House border czar Tom Homan was recorded on an FBI surveillance tape in September 2024, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money or give it back?
George, you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law. I think it's really preposterous. I know Tom. I think that he's a good man. He gets death threats. He gets attacked. He gets constantly threatened by people because he has the audacity to want to enforce the country's immigration laws. I think that it would be a much more interesting story about why is it that Tom Homan, who is simply enforcing Americans' immigration laws, is getting constantly harassed and threatened to the point of death threats. That's a much more interesting question that I think journalists should
yeah, you should ask this question instead, not the question that you directed towards me, which is, why was your border czar bribed by the FBI for 50 grand? Excuse me, please stop asking me this question and ask me different questions instead.
Focus on. We can agree to disagree on that question.
Well, wait, you said he didn't take a bribe, but I'm not sure you answered the question. Are you saying that he did not accept the $50,000?
George, this story has been covered ad nauseum. He did not take
it. No, it hasn't actually, because this administration is so fucking corrupt that no, this story hasn't been covered ad nauseum. As a matter of fact, this is one of the few instances where a mainstream media resource, a mainstream media commentator, is actually covering it for the first time by directly asking a question to the vice president. This is the coverage. It's not covered ad nauseum.
A bribe. Did he accept $50,000? I'm sure that in the course of Tom Homan's life, he has been paid more than $50,000 for.
This is my favorite thing that Republicans do, which is to describe something that is literally open and shut, black and white, a crime. Okay, receiving a $50,000 bribe in a fucking manila envelope in an FBI sting operation is literally just as straightforward as it gets. It's a bribe. It's a crime. Okay. But of course, Republicans love doing this thing where they go, excuse me. Oh, it was in a kava bag. Sorry, it wasn't in a manila envelope. It was in a kava paper bag. Takeout. Sorry. Anyway, he describes it. It's even worse because a manila envelope has some class, okay? The kava bag is classless. Having said that, understand something here. He's literally just going, excuse me, has Tom Homan actually had services rendered for $50,000 throughout his career? I'm sure he has. It's like, that's not the question. They're not asking. He's not asking you if Tom Homan has ever been given $50,000 for a job. He's asking if Tom Homan was caught in an FBI sting where he was given $50,000 in a bribe. And the answer is yes.
Services. The question is, did he do something illegal? And there's absolutely no evidence that Tom Homan has ever taken a bribe or done anything illegal, which is why he's working in the administration.
I'm asking you, did he accept the $50,000 that was caught on the surveillance tape? Did he accept that $50,000 or not?
George, I don't know what you're talking about. Did he accept $50,000 for what?
He was recorded on an audio tape in September 2024, an FBI surveillance tape, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money?
Accepting $50,000 for doing what, George? I'm not even sure I understand the question. Is it illegal to take a payment for doing services? The FBI has not prosecuted him. I've never seen any evidence that he's engaged in criminal wrongdoing. Nobody has.
Yeah, if he's never seen it, then it doesn't exist.
Accused Tom of violating a crime, even the far left media like yourself. So I'm actually not sure what the precise question is. Did he accept $50,000? Honestly, George, I don't know the answer to that question. What I do know is that he didn't violate a crime.
So you don't, what was caught on the tape, you're saying right now you don't know whether or not he kept that money?
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility because
Yeah,
you're
he's doing the thing. So now it's illegal to accept money for exchanging services? Excuse me. Oh, dude, I didn't realize it was illegal to get paid. Typical socialism. Everybody knows that's what socialism is when you don't get paid for your job. Excuse me, we're a capitalist nation here, George, and not socialistic like your favorite Palestine or your favorite Greece, okay? And therefore, we do things the right way here. We pay our friends for a job well done. We tip them. That's what the FBI was doing. He was tipping Tom Homan. The FBI officer thought he did a great job on the border and was like, here's a tip for you. No tax on tips. Remember, W's all around for Donald Trump. Let's go.
Talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against.
Wait, JD Vance literally asking SCOTUS to further expand Citizens United, basically eliminate bribery as a crime? Fuck it, YOLO, you know, whatever.
It's a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling.
Yeah, instead of focusing on the fact that we also shut the government down because we want to cut Medicaid. And we refuse to stand down on the position that 16 million Americans must lose their health care because we're evil on every front, George. Why are you forgetting how evil we are, George? Remember that, George. Remember all the other awful shit that we're doing.
Because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird.
He's so Rizless, bro. Everybody outside of Trump and this goddamn administration, and even Trump now is like getting so old that he's also becoming more and more Rizless. No Riz whatsoever. No Riz. Everything is dying. Everything is falling apart. Everything is computer. Everybody transgender. And they are trying to do everything in their power to just like fucking steal as much as they can. Look at this. Barron Trump tipped for top TikTok job. I don't want to believe that this is a real story. I just refuse. It could literally be real, and I still would refuse to believe that it's real, okay?
Left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
A couple weeks ago, you were doing an interview and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help?
Oh, this is funny. He just straight up is like, I'm not getting into heaven.